Alright guys, tonight on Iowa Audio Review with me, Jesse, we're going to be looking at this S.M.S.L. SA300 integrated amplifier. Picked this up because I wanted something small, compact, with a decent amount of power and a certain feature set for the living room to power the Sony CS5s. So after looking at a bunch of stuff, this is where I landed. I've been using it for a month or two now, trying it out in different scenarios, just different stuff with it, and so far I'm pretty happy with it. So let's have a look at it. The box we'll go over real quick. It's, obviously you can get it, we'll go over this again, but you can get it in black, red, or blue. I went with the blue because, actually let's get this out of the way. I went with the blue because I don't know if I'll probably won't ever use them together, but I also have the little blue M100 DAC. Bring him up here so you can see how that's the M100 DAC, little guy. There he is sitting on top of the SA300. I mean, the SA300 is not very big, but this just kind of shows you how small the M100 DAC was. Pretty big fan of these little cubes that S.M.S.L. does. It's a different, kind of a different, unique form factor, but it works. So figured if these ever sat side by side, I figured I'd just stick with the blue. The blue isn't exactly the same. It's close. The SA300 is a little bit more vibrant, I think, to me, but close enough. So, but anyway, put the M100 back, and we'll get back to this guy in a second. Just to show you real quick what comes in the box. Obviously, you get the amp, power brick, remote. Nice packaging. A bunch of paper stuff, doesn't matter. Thank you from S.M.S.L. and visit their website, visit them on Facebook, like them, yada yada yada. Then they do include a small, full-size USB to micro USB cord to connect it to your TV or computer or whatever you're gonna connect it to. So now we got this out of the way. Let's look at the actual integrated amplifier itself. That's in the hand. I mean, it looks big compared to the M100, but realistically, my hands aren't that big. I'm only like 5'11". I'm not like a huge dude or anything, and it's nice gloss front that hopefully you never touch. And then kind of a lengthy guy. You get this high-res audio sticker on the top. Don't get too excited. That doesn't really mean much. It basically means usually means it's capable of CD quality, which is 16-bit 44.1, but this actually, maybe the DAC is capable of that, but the actual amplifier in this isn't capable of that. Not many. You actually have to spend quite a bit of money to even get an amplifier that can do CD quality. Let's take a look at the back. Bluetooth, obviously. This is one of the reasons I wanted this one, is you get an actual subwoofer output, and then your right and left line input. They don't color code it. This is more like the old school stuff where you just get an R and an L on your line in, and then obviously, your binding posts. And it's kind of funny because even these little tiny binding posts they put on the back of these, most of the time, let me grab a set of cables here with like full size. These are silver plated banana plugs. Even these tiny binding posts usually accept, even pretty, I think it will cover the entire spring there. A lot of the budget speakers I get will only accept about half of this banana plug, so not bad. They're small little binding posts, but they do good. You can actually use decent banana plugs with them. Unlike pretty much every budget speaker I've reviewed, they all have I always complain they have the shallow little binding post, and then the banana plug only goes in like halfway, and I hope to God nobody trips on the cord and snaps the banana plug off or anything. Anyway, and then a USB in, and this is a driverless USB, which means you don't have, when you hook to your computer, TV, any of that stuff, unlike a lot of the other USB DACs, so some of them require some sort of USB driver. This one does not. This is a plug and play USB. And then on the front, power, select mode, and then your volume knob, which is nice. It is a nice, it's smooth, but yet it's clicky. It's incremented, or segmented, whatever. And then that also is I believe it is a select button, so you can hear it. I just want it to focus, just because, there we go, I win. Anyway, yeah, very nice size. Comes with a lot of options. Power brick. And it is a nice power brick. A lot of these other ones, for years, and maybe even some of the older S.M.S.L stuff, the power bricks were pretty cheap. They've finally gone to a nicer quality. It's actually, a lot of these, the power brick just has absolutely no weight. It almost feels like an empty shell. This one's actually got some weight to it. There's definitely something in there, and there's your rating, 24 volt, 6.75 amps. If you want to know what that is in watt output, it's just volts times amps. So let me bring up the calculator here. So we just do, what was it? 24 times 6.75, 162 watts. But that's 162 watts if this thing was 100% efficient. This is probably not. This power supply is maybe 80% efficient. I don't know. No, it actually doesn't say, but maybe at best this power supply can put out 140, 150 watts. But it's definitely this. That is if the power supply was 100% efficient, which none of them are. Most of these little power bricks, I think they're like maybe 70, 80% efficient. So you're only going to get about 70, 80% of that out of it, which is not bad for a small amplifier. And then the remote. This is a classic S.M.S.L remote you get with all the S.M.S.L. And you can see I have a few S.M.S.L products. They all come with the same remote, and depending on whether it's an amp, a DAC, or I can't remember. Is there one that uses the B? Amps always use A, DACs usually use C. I don't remember if I have one that actually uses the B. But yeah, this one uses A. But all the remotes are the same. I can use any of these remotes to control this or any of the other S.M.S.L products I have that I've all paid for, not sent to me. Yeah, easy power, mute, navigation. This, I believe, changes your input. I don't remember what function does. And then any of these buttons only work if you press A first. If you press C, none of these buttons do anything. Or C or B. But it's actually kind of nice. I found when I'm not using it, I kind of, like in the living room, this is hooked to the computer. We control everything pretty much with the mouse. So the volume on this gets set to, I think it goes to 60. I set to 30, which is about halfway. And then I just control the volume within Windows. I'm almost never using this remote. But to keep it from messing up, after I get set where I want it, I just push B or C. And then if you bump any other buttons, it doesn't do anything. It's kind of like a disable, which is kind of nice. I mean, if you bump A again, then obviously it'll do something. But when I'm done with it, I just push B or C, and then the remote's kind of dead. It won't obviously mess with the amp then, which is actually kind of my glass half full way to look at it, sort of thing. Because like I said, my situation, I'm almost never using the remote for it. I turn it on, set it where I want it, and it just stays on. And once it's in the living room, everything's controlled from the computer. The amp stays on 24/7. The other reason I went with this is what I'm getting to is the German Infineon Class D technology is super efficient, has super low power draw when it's idle, so I can just leave the thing on all the time, and it will never be shut off after this review. It's going to go back upstairs, get hooked back up, and it will probably be on until I change my mind and buy something else or it dies. I'm just going to use S.M.S.L's website to kind of run through the features. It's their website. I'm just going to use their literature that they put out there, and we'll just kind of go through it little by little. Yep, this is based on the German Infineon's new technology Class D amplifier chip. What they're getting at is it's a Class D chip that's up to 92% efficient. So it's super efficient. It's not going to suck up a ton of juice, which is really good. That's quite efficient. The volume knob, they're saying, you know, you get an NJRC Japanese, high quality Japanese volume knob, which is great. I don't really care. I don't buy this because it's some sort of audiophile product or anything. I mean, all I care is it's a good volume knob that's going to work. I don't really know. I know NJRC's got some volume knobs and other things that are good quality. Up to 32-bit, 384 kilohertz on the USB, which is completely pointless because there's really no music available anywhere that's 32-bit, 384 kilohertz, and even if it did, it wouldn't matter because it is way beyond what we can hear and way beyond what this amplifier can put out. This amplifier couldn't even fully resolve or reproduce 16-bit, CD audio. It's nice that maybe in the future, if movies or other music or content starts coming out in 32-bit, 384, the DAC in this will be able to decode those files. That's all this means. It doesn't mean it will put that out. All it means is the DAC in it can decode it. So, whatever. Maybe a couple years from now, stuff starts coming out that's 32-bit. Fine, this can decode it. Super bass preamp output, which is just subwoofer output, makes it a 2.1 amplifier. Built-in EQ modes, bass treble adjustment. We'll get to that. Actually, you know what? Let's time out. Let me plug it in, and we'll get the menu going here. We'll look at the menu as we go over some of this stuff. Oh, one other thing I wanted to comment on is a lot of these small amplifiers I've had a handful of them now. The power plug, when the barrel actually goes into the power socket, a lot of them only have one contact here on the outer side, on the outer barrel or whatever. This one, as you can see, has them all the way around. They actually went with a much higher quality power socket on this. A lot of the other ones I have, it's just one contact on this outer barrel on the on the bottom or maybe on the side, and then you got your pin in the middle. This one actually has contacts all the way around the outside, so it'll probably throw a little bit of a spark, but it'll be okay. Usually you should plug this into the amp first and then plug it into the wall, but a lot of the other ones will throw a ton of sparks. This one, if I remember right, it's not too bad, but it's a much better, well, I actually didn't throw any sparks at all, but it's just a much better connection. A lot of times these kind of power plugs are just really flimsy, or they don't pick the perfect plug for the male for the female, whatever, and it doesn't go in all the way, or whatever, and nobody likes that, But yeah, this one goes in all the way. It's snug. It's a really good contact. So kudos to S.M.S.L. for actually using a decent power socket. If you know what these power plugs are called, you can put in the comments. I don't remember what they're called. But yeah, great power sockets. Definitely an upgrade. So we got it sitting here. You can power it on like that, or obviously with the remote. Oh, another little side thing I didn't mention. If you're wondering how it drop tests, I dropped this from waist high. I don't remember what I was doing, but it's about waist high. I dropped it from about waist high onto the concrete. My floor down here in the basement's concrete. And it nicked the corner pretty good, but didn't crack the front or nothing. Yeah, I was actually surprised. I thought it was going to, mess up the whole corner, bust the screen. It didn't really. It marred it up a little bit, but not bad. These things are super solid for what they are. Again, kudos to S.M.S.L. Very well made. I thought it was going to, crack the whole front or something. Nope. If it was my phone, it probably would have shattered the screen. So, good there. Then, is it going to, we got to push A first. There's your mute. Your little speaker turns red right here in the corner. A little red dot there. Here, we'll just do it this way. Mute turns red. I get that the display is small because a lot of people are probably going to use this maybe in a desktop or in a small room. A lot of these things are hard to see when you're further away from it, like in my case in the living room. But then again, like I said, if I mute my sound and everything, none of that's going to be controlled on the amplifier. It's all going to be controlled within Windows, muting via Netflix or Hulu or whatever we're doing. So, again, once it's hooked up, this remote gets put away and the computer does everything. Yeah, built-in EQ modes. Let's just bring this back up here. I believe you can get into it. I know that's your input, Bluetooth, USB, line in. And then you can press down on your volume. That gets you into your menu. You can go into input, select your input here. Once you got it where you want it, push the volume button again. Takes you back. All right, press it again. We'll go into EQ. Let me put the remote down. And then in here you can see once you're in EQ, you can go into treble or you can go into bass. Or, spoiler, you can go into color. But here we're going to EQ. And there's a few different EQ modes. There's direct, tone, SDB, which I dug around. I found out that stands for S.M.S.L. dynamic bass mode. I'm not going to go beyond that, really. It's their own, yeah, if you don't do something, it kind of kicks you out. It's their own filter, their own EQ for a dynamic bass mode. And then there's actually bass mode, which I guess in this I can kind of tell the bass is a little more bumped up. But it's not just like a loudness, or I don't know, I guess I don't want to say loudness, but it's not just like a bass mode. Now if you go to actual bass mode, then you'll notice your speakers are putting out a little bass, and there's super bass mode. These two are actually pretty nice. I mean, you could use them with big speakers, but like if you got smaller speakers, or like in the living room with the Sony CS5s, we don't usually have it turned up that loud. So even at lower volumes, if the bass is kind of thin, or there's not much of it and you want a little more, a lot of times I've been running this on go back up, the SDB or bass mode, just because at lower volumes it kind of gives the speakers it almost kind of acts like a loudness. It gives the speakers a little extra bass, so even at lower volumes, they're not just, they don't sound just small and weak. Super bass is kind of fun, I guess, if you just want to. It definitely cranks the bass up. You can have some fun with that. And then there's rock, soft, clear, and EQ. Press it again, it goes back to the menu. And then treble, you can go in and select anything else. You can adjust all the way up to +10, and it's trying to focus on me and not the screen. It's just not going to do it. Now it's going to focus on the TV instead. Anything but the screen of what I'm trying to show. But yeah. And the bass is the same thing. No, go back. Bass. 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 Yeah. I think it also goes +10 and -10. I don't know. Does that take you back to the menu? No, they both take you back to the main screen. And then while we're in here, why not? We'll go into color. White, red, green, blue, yellow, cyan, which is blue, orange, purple, white. White is obviously default. Like if we select red, now it's red. And let's do, you can do cyan, which is blue. There you go. See, that's not bad. It's kind of pleasant. There's your volume. Up and down. Starts at 0 and goes all the way. It's a nice volume knob all the way to 60. If you turn it super fast, it can't keep up with you like most volume knobs, but if you turn it at normal pace, it keeps right up. I usually just keep it at 30 right in the middle. It's plenty for what we're using it for in the living room. Purple is kind of cool too. Yeah. We'll go back to the default white. There we go. And then down here at the very bottom is your Bluetooth clear. It just says turn to clear Bluetooth. It's not BT, exclamation mark. But yeah, if you got a bunch of devices saved or attached to it, you just go and this is where you go to remove them. So that's basically the menu, and a lot of this is the same thing with the remote. You can go into the menu by just pushing, I think, the middle button, and then you can navigate all these things pretty easily. Boop, whoops, treble, down, And then I believe the arrow button here, yeah, is your mode. I don't know if function does anything. Oh, it takes you into the tone. You can just go right into the menu with the function button and just switch your EQ that way. I forgot about that. Yep. And then, yeah. See, now if you hit either one of these buttons, none of these do anything. The remote's pretty much disabled, which is actually kind of nice. It's my glass half full. Then you hit A when you want to use it again. So yeah, then power shuts it off. Turn it back on. Greets you with a little S.M.S.L. Yeah, there. We made it through the menu. Let's go back to going through specs. And so, went through the EQ modes. It's equipped with Qualcomm's Bluetooth 5.0, support for aptX, CNC aluminum body. Went through that. We just looked at the LCD display. Like I said, it's a little small, but obviously this little guy is not meant to be used in like a giant room where you're going to be sitting far from it. It doesn't bother me because, like I said, computers can be controlling everything for me anyway. Super low standby function to meet the latest European ERP2 standard, which not an issue here in America. Has a large number of audio grade components and used to enhance the sound experience. Great. We'll touch back on that a little bit. High quality gold plated input terminals. Yep. This is nice, but just because these are gold plated doesn't mean they're going to sound better. A lot of people assume just because it's gold, it's better. Gold's actually third in line for best conductivity. It actually goes silver, copper, then gold. What gold is very good at, though, is resisting corrosion. So having these be gold plated probably isn't going to make any difference as far as fidelity or sound quality. But what it is going to do is it's going to resist corrosion for a good long time. So you should have nice, good, clean connectors, which is nice. So I know the industry likes to make RCAs and stuff all gold because it makes people think, oh, it's going to sound better with gold RCAs. No. But they will stay clean longer. I mean, if it's actually good gold or not, probably not. But perfect protection circuit for overheating. Basically has it has overheating and overcurrent circuit protection, which is nice, especially for me. Something like this, I'm going to leave on all the time. And a high quality power adapter, which you already went over. Like I said, some of the older Fosse topping, S.M.S.L, Duke Audio, all these other ones. Some of the other ones, older ones I've gotten in the past, the power bricks they come with are pretty sketchy. But they've definitely taken it up a notch with definitely this guy and even the power socket. Some links that give you the manual. Their website is actually pretty well laid out now, which I do think kind of is important when you're buying someone's products and you may need to rely on their website. It's good that they have a website that's, laid out in a way that about anybody can figure it out and use it. So, yeah, and you can open up and print the manual anytime you want. There's your offers in red, black, blue, and red. Some pictures, more power, more possibility, digital power amplifier. But see, they got that wrong. This is a integrated amplifier, S.M.S.L. It's not just a power amplifier. In that case, it would just have inputs, and that's it, pretty much. This has got functionality and, basically a preamp and everything built into it. It's got a DAC built into it. So this is actually an integrated amplifier. Super bass preamp output, aka S.M.S.L. Just change that to subwoofer output. Bluetooth 5.0, low power standby, high res audio, JAS high res certification, which means literally almost nothing. It just means that it has to at least be able to support CD quality audio, and that obviously probably applies to the DAC because the amplifier in this is, like I said, is not capable of fully resolving 16 bits and 44.1. Infineon's MA12070 chip, which I looked into, it's one of their better chips in that lineup, or I think it might be the best one in that lineup. Support for 32-bit 384 USB, which we went over that. Again, means nothing. There's literally pretty much no audio out there that's going to be 32-bit 384, and even if it was, it wouldn't matter because you couldn't hear it. and that couldn't resolve it. All it means is the DAC in there can decode it. You get an EQ, yep, and a remote. Moving through here, function from inspiration to production. Like I'm giving you a PowerPoint pre-made by S.M.S.L. There's their Infineon Merus MA12070 chip. Yeah, I think the main pride of this chip is that you get decent quality sound out of it, but yet still maintain the high 92% efficiency. It's a very efficient chip. Qualcomm Bluetooth 5.0, also supporting aptX, which is, you know, some people may be after. I don't really care anything about Bluetooth because I almost never use it. Not at least in any case where I care about audio quality. I'm not saying I have a problem with Bluetooth audio quality. I'm just, you know, I use it for like my earbuds and stuff at work when I listen to podcasts and stuff. But like when I come home and I want to actually like sit and focus and listen to music, I'm not like Bluetoothing anything. I have a real stereo. But yeah, not, you know, whatever. Some people, you know, Bluetooth has its conveniences and its uses, so whatever. It's got good Bluetooth. Oh, yeah, devices at all. USB input, a variety of devices with USB, such as computer phones, Android TVs, home game consoles. You can plug them all right in. Like I said, this is a driver-free or driverless USB port. So, as long as you have the right adapter or whatever you need to plug a USB from any of these listed devices here into this, it should just work. Ignore the 32-bit 384. It's just marketing, blah. Do like with the driverless USB. Obviously, the DAC in this is not going to be as good as this. It's just not. The M100 is for the money. I don't even know if you can get these anymore. They think they still hover around, I don't know, $60 to $100. They actually perform really well for their price. But these are powered and require a Thesicon driver, I believe. The USB DAC in this is going to be far superior to what's in here. But the point of this is not to be the best. The point of this is to be universally functional. So it kind of just works, which I get. 2 ways for TV Connect. Okay. This is going through their TV DAC or something. Basically, you could just pretend this is the M100. You run your optical out of your TV into the optical on the M100, analog out of the M100 into this, which may improve the sound. I don't know. Or you can run a USB directly out of whatever device directly into this. Moving on, you get your subwoofer output. It's a subwoofer output. You run it to a subwoofer, a powered subwoofer. It's not it's a subwoofer preamp output. So the subwoofer's got to be powered. Oh, that's kind of confusing. These since they have their own power button and everything. I can't remember what brand that is. They look like. Either way, but they have a volume knob and power buttons on them. S.M.S.L. You have a picture of powered monitors here. But then you put passive speakers. So someone like me, I see that, I'm like, wait a minute, you're hooking powered speaker wires to powered monitors? No. I don't know if that would confuse anyone, but these are definitely powered speakers in the picture, just because you wrote passive below them. I don't know, some people only look at pictures. Might want to actually use a picture of actual passive speakers, S.M.S.L. But yeah, your speakers go to that, your subwoofer goes to the subwoofer. We went through the EQ modes. It's kind of, well, they say here the SDB sound is patented, belonging to S.M.S.L. Basically, it just means it's their own little EQ they set up but the SDB stands for S.M.S.L. Dynamic Bass. Treble bass gain adjustment, EQ, we already went over that. Low power standby. It's in standby right now. Hold on, we're going to get jiggly here, but I'm going to move the bipod down here to the kilowatt. What are we doing? Just sitting here. 1.5 watts. Doing nothing. Out of the wall. So, yeah, pretty low power consump. Whoa! get you guys dialed back in here. Well, it says standby power consumption is less than 0.5. What's going on? We're at 1.5. If I turn this down, even though it's, let me hold on. If I turn the volume down, it's meaning we're not doing anything. It doesn't even have anything hooked to it. Is it going to go down? No, still 1.4, 1.5 watts. And this is, oh, never, duh, sorry, my bad. It's late, I'm tired. You gotta turn it off. Now it's in standby. Powered down, but still plugged in, aka standby. Now, okay, that was powered on. We're at 1.5. We'll do this again. My bad. Now powered down. 1.4, 0.5. Exactly about what they said. So, my bad. Okay, moving on. Tired. Allergies are killing me. If you can't tell, my voice is a little rough. So, very low power consumption at standby. Even when powered on, 1.5 watts, nothing. Equipped with remote control, which I'm sure you've all noticed by now. I like the picture right here. I wish it was that big. I think it'd be like this. It'd be huge. Their scaling's a little off. Either that or the TV and the shelf and everything's pretty tiny. Yeah, just letting you know, you gotta hit the A key on the remote first. Internal material, high cost performance, beautiful layout, and excellent performance. Just letting you know other things other than the Infineon Class D amplifier module. Other components are audio grade components, you know, caps, resistors, other things. Oh, that's the Infineon chip there. Okay, now we're starting to get into some specs. Output power is 80 watts. Let's keep moving. I think they list specs again later. The JRC, which is Japan Radio Co. Company Ltd. The NJW 1194 performs low noise and distortion characteristics with resistance ladder circuit. All the functions are controlled via 3-wired serial bus. AKA, it's got a good volume knob. Awesome. And then we went over the protection, overheat and overvolt protection circuit, which is nice. Gallery, available 3 colors. They kind of go over some of these things that we already went over again. We already went over what's on the front and the back. Parameters, 70 millimeter wide, 188 millimeters deep by 73 millimeters tall. So it's actually not a perfect square. It's a little taller than it is wide. No big deal. Inputs, we went over. You get USB, RCA, Bluetooth, to your THD plus noise. They rated at 0.008%. Your signal to noise ratio is at 90 dB, which is pretty good. Channel separation is going to be 88 dBs of separation. I thought about sending this thing into, there is a guy that already, I can't remember his website now, that did a bunch of the measurements on this. I'll list it in the description. I honestly don't remember if all these specs were right on the nose, but typically S.M.S.L. is pretty good with their specs, especially on their DACs and stuff. That you can go to the Infineon website too, with a German company that makes the amplifier module. Power output 80 watts times 2 in the 4 ohms, and then 40 watts times 2 in the 8 ohms. The catch here, if you look deeper, like I said, if you go to the Infineon website, these ratings are at 10% THD, which most audio people are going to cringe if they're rated much beyond really 0.1% or even 1% THD, but I think that, well, they do this because it allows them to list a higher power rating at 10% THD than 1%. At 1%, it's probably going to be about half of that, I think. So it's going to be 40 watts at 4 ohms and 20 watts at 8 ohms. That's not a big deal. That's still quite a bit of power. A lot of people don't realize that it's still, quite a bit of power. But I think for most people, even at 10% THD, that's not going to bother them. They're not going to care. It's not like it's going to sound terrible. It's still going to sound really good for probably 90% of the people that buy this. Like I said, this is not like it's some audiophile hi-fi piece of gear. This is an all-in-one, compact, a lot of functionality in a small box at an affordable price. So the fact that it doesn't perform as good as, a much more expensive amplifier or DAC doesn't really matter. It's not what it's supposed to do. Its sole purpose is to provide a bunch of different functions in one tiny box and do it fairly well, and it does. Your power consumption, 35 watts normal volume. We'll get to that. We'll see if it actually is 35. And then they said, yeah, 0.5 watt on standby. It is. What I'm going to do now is we'll see. I'm going to hook it to some speakers. We'll crank it up and look at that kilowatt, see what we're drawing. It says here at normal volume should be about 35 watts. So I have these will be reviewed soon, a set of JBL Stage A130s. I don't think they're super efficient. I think they're like 87 or 88 dB sensitivity, so they're a pretty average speaker for sensitivity. I actually think they're about the same as the Sony CS5 as far as sensitivity, so we'll hook this up and we'll crank it up. Alright, got it hooked up to the JBL Stage A130s. I'm not using its DAC. I'm using another review that'll be coming, the S.M.S.L. M200 DAC to feed it juice. And yeah, let's start cranking it up. There, 30 is halfway. Then plug in the other speaker. Even in my listening space down here, I actually have to speak a little bit louder because even at half volume, it's pretty loud. I mean, it's not a very big space, but well, this is at half volume. Let's see what the wattage from the wall is. Yeah, not really drawing very much. A couple watts. Let's turn it up some more. Let's go up to 40. Geez, even at 35. Try a little more. Let's go to direct sound. There we go. Up a little bit. Yeah, this little guy, I mean, even at 40 out of 60 on the volume, it was, I think, pulling, I don't know, because it's kind of dynamic, it was kind of going up and down, but what, 20 watts or so? With fairly efficient speakers, you don't really need much power, even, especially in a normal size room. Decent, efficient speakers, 50 watts is usually plenty. Granted, this music is not high quality music, it's highly compressed music, which automatically makes it louder. I'm sure if you're listening to high-res music that's not compressed at all, you're going to lose some volume there. But either way, the point is, even this little guy gets plenty loud in my listening space for the most part. It's just surprising to see these little amps over the years. They just keep getting a little better and a little better. The Class D technology keeps getting a little better and a little better. And yeah, some of them are only, You know, they're less than 100 watts, but that's more than most people think. Especially if you go back into the 60s and 70s and stuff. Back then, 40, 50 watts was a lot. And it just got lost in the with the watt wars or whatever you want to call it, where everybody was just listing peak power. 1,000 watts peak, or 100 watts times 10, or 100 watts times 6 peak, or whatever. All this max power crap they did for years and years and years, and now everybody thinks they need all this power when realistically you don't. With a decent set of efficient speakers, which most decent speakers are usually in the mid to upper 80s, if not low 90s. 50 watts is quite a bit. I have this, my living room's pretty big. I think it's like 15 by 20, 15 by 20, 25. And with the Sony CS5s, I just set it to 30, and that's plenty loud. Maybe a little higher if we're watching a movie or something. So yeah, it's for a small little compact integrated amplifier. It's got the cojones I need. I'm not going to get THX level performance out of it, but for this thing like $120 or so, it packs a punch for a little amplifier. Well made, plenty of inputs. Everything on it it just works. You can drop it on concrete from your waist and it won't break. I mean, what more do you want? So I can definitely recommend this. I think that covers it. If you have any questions, comments, put them down below. Just be nice about it. I just kind of wanted to get this out of the way so I can put it back in my living room and not have to mess with it again. So, all right, have a good night, guys. See you later.